Our old friend is at it again.
Not all mosquitoes carry malaria. Anophelines are the mosquitoes that carry malaria. And then there's another mosquito that's called Aedes. Aedes doesn't carry malaria at all. It's most famous for carrying other killer diseases like yellow fever, dengue, chikungunya, recently famous for carrying Zika. In the case of malaria, you got to have the right mosquitoes around, the anophelines. They have to go feed on a human, get a bunch of blood. They can barely fly when they have the blood in them. If the human it bites happens to have malaria, then the second time it bites a human, then it can transfer the malaria. What happens when you hit the malaria season is that the mosquitoes breed like mad. So you go from small numbers to literally billions of mosquitoes. And so they're biting all these people. But if you can cut the mosquito population, then the malaria can't move around. And if you go through 3 seasons, say, with very few mosquitoes, then the malaria disappears.
What you're trying to do is bottleneck the disease and have some point in time where there's none of it in mosquitoes and there's none of it in humans.
So, of course, they're releasing 2 billion genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida and California on opposite ends of the United States. So
Malaria is, of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here so you could experience this. We'll let those roam around the auditorium a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.
It's just after sunrise in Fresno, California, and this van circling a residential neighborhood is making a rather unusual delivery. It's hard to see with the naked eye, but flying out of this tube are thousands of mosquitoes, new additions to the community. Linus Upson is running this experiment for Verily, the life sciences corporate cousin of tech powerhouse Google. In total, they're releasing 1 million mosquitoes a week for 20 weeks this summer.
So you are going to release 20 million mosquitoes in the Fresno area. 20 million mosquitoes.
New additions to the community.
20 million mosquitoes in the Fresno area. Are neighbors not concerned about this?
Once people understand if we're successful, we're going to reduce the population, people are usually thrilled.
This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to 0. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to 0. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Million mosquitoes in the Fresno area. Are neighbors not concerned about this?
Once people understand if we're successful, we're going to reduce the population, people are usually thrilled.
Okay, so I know that you walk outside your house every day and you worry about 3 things. There's 3 major concerns that you have. 1, dengue fever. Secondary concern, yellow fever. And 3rd, Zika. Now, I know that you're deadly afraid of these things because Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation told me so. They said that these are, major concerns. Bill and Melinda Gates looking out for us, looking out for them kids. Decided they got to do something about this. They got to take care of these mosquitoes. They're causing all these deadly diseases. Never mind that we haven't had a yellow fever case since 1905. It's not really a big risk. Zika, we did have a case in 2019. We had a case in 2019, guys. Really, to be fair, there are 11 cases of dengue in Florida right now. Anyway, don't worry about it. Just don't worry about those stupid details, all right? Because Bill and Melinda Gates, they got your back.
Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Warning about this forever. We've been telling you about this forever, etc. And then you see things like this on Snopes. Bill Gates releasing, here's the whole story. No, it's not another microchip conspiracy. No, it's not a microchip conspiracy, but it's one hell of a way to get flying syringes in the sky to bite people that wouldn't ordinarily take their incredibly toxic DNA-changing vaccine.
Look, they're way too smart for us. They're ahead of the game, all right? Those poor peasants can only sit here and try to fathom or grasp the concepts that they toss around with such proficiency. These geniuses decided to release 2 million mosquitoes out of their labs, out of these little boxes, and into your backyard. And this is after a pilot program which they released billions of mosquitoes, genetically engineered mosquitoes, to combat mosquitoes that transmit these 3 deadly diseases that you walk outside your door and are so afraid of on a daily basis. So they took these things, right, these genetically engineered mosquitoes, which are designed. Let me explain how this process works here, all right? These guys are really smart. I know us dumb people down here, we find it hard to, we find it hard to comprehend such lofty things. So these mosquitoes, which are genetically engineered, which means they're much better than anything God made. Much better, because Bill Gates is so much smarter. They took these mosquitoes, right? And so they're called the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. Basically means the Egyptian AIDS mosquitoes. Or Aedes also is very similar to Hades. Hades, AIDS, this is all spell-in, all right? Be mindful of that. This is spell-in. They utilize this not just to confuse you, but also to mock you, because it's so fucking obvious. All right, you look at any old map of Egypt, it's called Aegyptus. All right, it's just a Greek word. All right, just a Greek word. It's not that hard to figure out. And so they do that for all these Latin terms. Latin, Roman Empire, spell-in, okay? Enough of that, move on. So these mosquitoes, right, they're male mosquitoes. They're designed to mate with the normal female mosquitoes, the deadly ones, right, of the Aegypti Aedes variety, or Aedes aegypti, whatever. They can flip it, they can invert it. It's still spell-in. Break it down. Use diction, establish jurisdiction of the mind, at least of the mind, by understanding their spell-in. Anyway. So these male mosquitoes are supposed to mate with these natural female mosquitoes and produce offspring, right? So these offspring, the female ones are supposed to die. The male ones, much like the human species that they've tried to modify, are going to be sterile, according to their theory, all right? They're saying that these male genetically engineered mosquitoes will mate with the natural mosquitoes and create offspring. If it's female, they will die. If it's male, they'll be sterile, gradually lessening the mosquito population in the United States. And that is their purported, that's their purported objective, right? That's the science that they're basing it on. Now, keep in mind, they say that they dropped these mosquitoes. Now, this happened on March 11th. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. I've done several takes of this because I have technical issues like usual. Strangely, every time I try to talk about something really important, technical issues, left and right. All the time. It's very uncanny and weird. Doesn't matter what programs, what devices I use. I mean, I'm using pretty old school stuff. It's whatever. Anyway, so after years of supposed public commentary, of which I've not heard of. I mean, I've seen some random articles here and there, and I'm a researcher. So what does a normal man see? I don't know. But after years of comments from the public and consultation with this environmental protection agency and this and that agency, bunch of bullshit behind the scenes, bunch of finagling, bunch of hush-hush stuff, and then boom, they drop all these mosquitoes on 2 sides of the nation. You've got California, Well, they dropped it, and in Florida Keys, they wanted to hit it from both sides. Now, the official number was 2 million mosquitoes. Now, last year, they dropped 500 million mosquitoes during their pilot program, so I don't trust them. And they dropped untold amounts in Brazil as well, with disastrous results. So, as you can imagine, Florida residents were not cool with that. Yeah, I wouldn't be cool with that either. It's not as though these guys aren't screwing with our lives on a daily basis. Now they want to dump mosquitoes in our backyard? They're playing God, and they're doing a very bad job. This doesn't just threaten you, it threatens your pets. Okay, so your pets at this point are subject to possible infection from these diseases that these mosquitoes carry.
Which so many have done voluntarily. Well, this is for the involuntary. And here's the other thing. Nobody votes on this. Nobody gets a say in this. All of this is kept quiet until it's announced that it's passed and gone through. That's how it works in the world that we live in right now. So be ready for this. Do you see what I'm saying? How many people do you know that have died because of a mosquito bite? Yeah, me neither. But this guy just will not stop with his horror stories. Now, that is the scariest video I've ever seen a billionaire make. Still the world's deadliest killer. That's a statement. That's a statement. That's a straight up statement. It's thinly veiled, but there it is. Blah, blah, blah. 2 billion. Combine that with the ones they released last year, the ones they're probably releasing right now, the ones you never heard about. And according to Snopes, they're not even doing it at all. It's no big deal. All is well. This is all just a conspiracy theory. It's unbelievable, man. Absolutely unbelievable. When I ran this video a year and a half ago or so on my YouTube channel, and everybody went over here and smashed that dislike. They were down. He had like 50,000 thumbs downs. My channel got taken away. Remember that time? But
that's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.